While your day is winding down, they're just getting started. This is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Welcome back to the program, South Coast Tonight. So Marcus Farrow and is here as always, holding down the fort. I'm Chris McCarthy. Listen, we're going to be joined here in a moment by our good friend, a friend of the show, a friend of everyone's,
Sylvia.
Billy Sylvia, the head of the New Bedford Fire Department's union, to talk about the staffing, the training, and the heroism of his members. This latest fire we just had in the city of New Bedford.
Hey, Billy, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Good. How are you? Marcus and Chris, thank you for having me on. Hope you guys are doing well.
Thanks so much for joining us, Billy. I know you guys have been really busy. And again, I know it's early stages, but tell us what you can, what you know, and what's confirmed about the fire so far.
Yeah, and it's still in their investigation,
yes.
So there's not a whole lot. I mean, I can tell you, pretty basically what's out there. Unfortunately, there's two fatalities, two victims that succumbed to the fire, and our prayers and our condolences go to the families of those two victims, and then the other victims, everybody else that was hurt. There's numerous people that were hurt, some really seriously. Prayers go to them, and hopefully they have a swift recovery. But it was, you can see by the pictures and the videos that's playing out there, it was chaos. It was hectic. Our members pulled up to a crazy scene. They were up against it even before arrival. They were really at a big disadvantage. And as soon as they pulled up, they went straight to work in rescue mode. And I can't say enough of our members and what they do day in and day out. And another case, with this crazy fire upon arrival, they did everything that they could, and then some.
Billy, talk a little. You've done this before when you've been on both with me and Marcus over the years. Talk about the science of fire and how quickly these things go, and what you folks have to do as experts to try to control them. Talk about the fire science for us.
Yeah. So there's a lot to it. It all depends, on fuel, what's burning, what it's getting fed with, what the air conditions are, if it goes to the outside, is there wind conditions or anything like that. So a lot of it depends, and depending on what is actually burning, a lot of the times we have synthetic plastic stuff in our buildings and our rooms that we're living with now, and that stuff, the BTUs and the heat that gives off once it starts burning is incredible. So you can have a fire double in size anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. So again, depending on what else is in that room, it could go very quickly. And you could have, in a small amount of time, and especially in a small room, where this being a rooming house, the rooms and bedrooms in this place were really, really small. So depending on what's burning, and all going at the same time, you could create a flashover condition, which what happens with that is everything in the room just heats so fast, so rapidly, and there's so much heat in that room, and it's contained, that everything at once just combusts. Everything at once just catches fire. So, just imagine how hot it has to be just for that to happen. And that can happen very quickly in a lot of instances, especially a place like this where, there's a lot of rooms to it. They're small in size, and there's not a lot of, windows or the roofs in a place like this. So it makes it hard for us to gain access sometimes and to get at fires in buildings like this, unfortunately.
So, Billy, what is? I know that it wasn't just you guys out there. There were departments from the surrounding towns. What surrounding towns were able to provide? What role did mutual aid play in this fire in this incident?
I don't know if we had any on scene. I know usually when we call mutual aid, they come in and cover the rest of the city because right off the bat, we didn't even have all our apparatus there. As soon as the first due truck arrived and gave their report, they called a second alarm right away. And then command showed up and they started seeing everything else going on. And shortly after it was a general. So that called everybody we had in the city to the scene. And then all off-duty personnel that's available to come in to assist. And then and as soon as we call a second alarm, we start calling for mutual aid, which would be surrounding towns. And then as we call for more alarms, we call in more mutual aid. So usually we have a Acushnet, Fairhaven, Dartmouth, a couple districts of Dartmouth come in. Sometimes Mattapoisett. It just depends on the size of the fire and what we go on. So I think we pretty much had everybody that was closest to us that come in and give us personnel and apparatus to cover the rest of the city, because a lot of times it's not the only thing that happens that's going on, especially in the middle of the day. A lot of things can happen in one instance, so we got to be ready for anything else that happens too.
We're speaking with Billy Sylvia, who's the head of the New Bedford Firefighters Union. Billy, and you'll understand where I'm going with this question, building off of what you just said. No one told you yesterday that you guys are going to have this major fire later in the day, right? In other words, you've got to be ready for any circumstances.
Absolutely. That's what we train for. Hope for the best, pray for the best. Pray for the best, and prepare for the worst. It's part of our training, day in and day out that our members do. We have a very aggressive department. The way, we perform, we go in and we try to get as deep into a fire or attack a fire as much as we can. And especially to save, life safety, to save people. That's our number one task, right? But our guys train day in and day out. Unfortunately, COVID kind of put a damper on it for a little bit because we were limited on what we could do together with getting a lot of crews together. But luckily now we're getting everybody back in the groove of doing training. We just had our own Mayday trainings in case we get our own guys stuck. But there's multiple evolutions that we do week by week, and sometimes it's just repetitive. We do it week after week, or month after month, and we just got to stay on our toes with it because anything can happen. You never know. These guys weren't even halfway through their shift for the day, and then in the middle of the day, they show up to a fire like this that is just blowing out the sides. You got people hanging out windows, jumping out windows. It's just chaos. And luckily it wasn't in the middle of the night because it could have even been worse. So
Billy, unfortunately right now we have everyone's attention because of such a fire like this. So it is important now that everyone's paying attention to talk about what your department needs, staffing levels, equipment, training, the closing of stations, all of those things. We've got everyone's attention now. It's got to be discussed. Talk about what you guys are talking about.
I mean, it's a necessity. I think anybody that listens to the show or you guys, we've had our battles over the years with the administration, and unfortunately we had a closure a couple of years down the south end, and combination of a couple engines put together. So we lost an apparatus that brought us from 10 to 9. We lost 4 on-duty firefighters, 24/7 there. And then there was another closure that was planned with Engine 8, which was the first due of this fire, first engine due right up the street. And we had a big battle with that, and we fought.
I remember Joe Kennedy came to Acushnet Ave. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it was big. I mean, just a congested area like that, we've had a lot of bad fires in that area because of the houses. The buildings are so big, they're old, but then they're also so close together. We've had plenty of businesses up there to go. Unfortunately, we had a number of, not just yesterday, but over the years, we've had a number of fatalities in that area. But, we got into a serious battle with the city, and I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was Thanksgiving 2020, we had that big fire.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God, massive, yeah.
Kevin Cormier ran in and saved the guy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Again, our guys, hats off to our guys. A guy off duty went inside on his own after he left church and saw him and pulled a lady out of the first floor. And then, guys worked tirelessly through the day to try to save what they could. But that set off it was a pattern. I wouldn't say a pattern, but that just triggered that whole year from then on. We just had fire after fire. It was like something unseen, and I don't know how long. It was just fire after fire. We had some major fires. We had a few generals. We had multiple alarm fires. It was busy, and then it just proved that point where the necessity of the department that we have, that you need manpower, you need apparatus. You can have all the shiny new fire trucks that you want, but if you don't have the people on the rigs doing the work, it's not going to do any good. So we had that long spell over that year, and then we were fighting for Engine 8 to try to keep it, and then unfortunately a block over from this fire yesterday, we had another major fire that was another general, and we had 2 fatalities there too, unfortunately. And then shortly after, the mayor announced that he was going to keep Engine 8 open, which was great because they saw a necessity and the reason to have a department like we have. We need as many trucks as fully staffed as we can because one, our age, and two, the builds, and then just the size, the way the city's laid out. We need as much manpower and as many apparatus as we can to get to a fire as fast as we can with as many firefighters as we can, because that's what you're going to do your best. If we had one less truck, if Engine 8 was not there yesterday, and 4 less firefighters, with all those people hanging on windows and that fire blowing like that, it could have been even worse. So luckily, the administration did the right thing, kept Engine 8 open, and we can we're always going to advocate for more personnel on our department and our job because it's just an inherently dangerous job in what we do. We've become one department does all now. It's not just fires, it's accidents, it's hazmat calls, water issues, electrical issues, you name it, we go to now. And, we do our best to provide a service and to help out the community and the people in it as best we can. So the more staffing we need, because it's just nonstop every day. Again, I can't, hats off to our members, they work their butts off day in and day out. And, I say it all the time, but our department, our men and women are second to none around here.
We're speaking with Billy Sylvia from the New Bedford Fire Department Union. Billy, one of the things is that we're seeing more electric cars on the road, and those electric cars, when they catch fire, have a very high heat profile. And I'm a firm believer in training. I know you are. Mm-hmm. Training and equipment is what keeps you guys alive and what keeps the public alive. Have you guys started training on electric cars, fires, things like that? Do you feel prepared for that?
Yes. You can never be prepared as much as you think you are.
Sure.
But you're absolutely right. There are more and more of these cars on the road. It's not just the cars. It's, accessories. It's, toys. It's part of everyday life now, right? And sometimes people don't even think of it, but these things are very dangerous. So you have to, make sure you follow like manufacturers, recommendations on what, if something happens to it, if it's damaged, or that's serious stuff. I think we had a fire in the North End recently that I don't remember. It was under investigation at the time, and I don't remember what the outcome is. If they deemed it was from the lithium-ion batteries, but that's what they were looking at, and it caused real significant damage to the home. But this is serious stuff. We have over the years done some training. It was basic, but the department's trying to offer more and more training. Unfortunately, some of the stuff comes at a real expense.
Yes.
When our budget's limited. So we're trying to do the best we can. We've had some small classes. We're hoping to get some more. We do have one of our staff positions. He has training in that area, and we've got some equipment to help contain if there is an issue with or damaged battery or something like that. We can put containers in. But yeah, what the damage that they can do, just if they go off, if they explode, or if they catch fire, you got to be very cautious of that stuff and make sure you follow any manufacturer specifications. If there's an issue, make sure you call the fire department right away, and we'll go and do whatever we can to help out and take care of the situation. But serious stuff. So,
Billy, last year we had the situation where on the police side, but it affects your members obviously. Officer Cassidy got COVID in the line of duty. He died, but his wife is not able, and child are not able to collect his death benefits. There was a petition. Your union supported it in the city council. It went forward. It got all the way to the state house. It died up there. There's going to be a renewed effort to try to get that done. I know that there are firefighters in the state house. You guys have a hell of a presence up there. Have you thought anything about that? About moving forward to try to reinvigorate that to help the Cassidy family out?
Yeah, it's always we talk about stuff like that's always when we're trying to help out our brother policemen and whatever we can to help out the families. It's unfortunate what happened to him and with this with COVID could kind of happen to anybody.
Absolutely.
We've had our own members that numerous guys got it. We unfortunately had to have a couple guys retire recently because of COVID. But it's an exposure that they look at. It's, well, how can you connect it? Can you really connect it to the job? Or did you get it from going to the supermarket? So it's a battle,
Yes.
People, they don't, it's a cost. They look at it as a cost. They're just a number, unfortunately, sometimes. But it's a serious issue. We would like to have our members, not just our members, but their families protected in case something like that, what happened to Cassidy, happens to somebody else, because these people are going out there putting their lives out on the line, protecting and helping the community, and they should be protected from the community they serve.
And by the way, Billy, I think that not only do your members and the local talk show hosts think that should be the rule, but I think the general public does too. It's really the political guys that are narrow-minded on this thing, and I just think they need to get shaken up a little bit.
That's one of those things. I think that it goes way up further than what we have in the city. And, again, it turns into a line item sometimes for some people instead of looking at the reality of who it affects and what it does to people, unfortunately.
So I have a question about some goings on over here. We've recently had my friend Kevin Gonzalez, the president of the Fairhaven Fire Union, talk about their low staffing levels. We talked about it at length, and now they're looking at a Prop 2.5 override over here. They're now accusing the town of, I think, misleading people on their position on staffing. I didn't know if you just had any general comments on the situation here.
Yeah, glad you brought that up. It's unfortunate sometimes. Politics usually always seems to fall over into categories that they really shouldn't be in. And public safety is the major one. Unfortunately, just look at the times we're in. Economy's kind of crazy still. What's going on, but look at the housing market, right? And business, certain places still booming. You have businesses opening up left and right in areas. You have houses being built all over. So what is that? You're creating more population. You're having more residents come in the city, more business come in the city. Yet, what is one of the last things that's done is increases to public safety and services. Yet you still increase in taxes, your tax base and whatever. But you're having more people move into the city with more traffic, more businesses. You can make arguments for it all day, but bottom line is you need for any of that stuff, you need a properly staffed department able to respond. If you go by NFPA standards, the National Fire Protection Act, you're going to need a certain number of firefighters show up on a scene with a certain amount of minutes. So
right.
If your city and town is getting bigger and bigger, you need an adequate department to respond. If you're just showing up, with an engine and a ladder truck with just a couple guys on it, you're very limited in your role of what you're going to do. If you have to do, multiple, evolutions, whether it's rescue or protection, or you have to go in offensive mode or defensive mode, you still got to get water, you got to do ventilation, you got to do search and rescue. There's a lot of stuff that goes, and then just the fire. But again, fire departments nowadays don't just respond to fires. There's numerous things, and then, there's more traffic, more cars, more businesses than ever right now. So you got a lot of times you have more than one emergency going on at the same time. So you need a properly staffed department, not just in one particular area, but you need it spread out through the whole town or the whole city, or however it is. But the more manpower, the better, because you're ready for almost anything. You want to say everything because, you never know what you're going to expect when you go to work.
Just like yesterday, right? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
like as I said earlier, not to be facetious, but no one told you there was going to be a fire in the afternoon. You have to always be ready. I know the police are having some issue with retention and recruiting. How's the world of firefighters? Are you guys losing people to other towns?
It's not so much other towns. We did lose some guys for other line of work. They left our department, and then we had a number of retirements over the years. The guys who just come of age or have their years, and but we're not as bad shape, I think, as police. Hats off to them. They have a tough job, and
right.
in this day and age, how many people actually want to do that job? Unfortunately, for what they sometimes have to deal with and what they go through. But we're doing okay. The lists aren't as the hiring lists. I don't think are as big as what they used to be. Mm-hmm. It seems to be the past few times we've hired, we're going a little bit further than what we used to go. Everybody used to come from in the city. Sometimes now we're reaching out further from city limits to get qualified candidates.
We're speaking with Billy Sylvia from the New Bedford Fire Union. Billy, before we let you go, I just if you could leave the audience. We're getting into the spring and summer months, outside fires, things like that. It seems like you always see someone lights their vinyl siding on fire with a grill or something like that. Because I just haven't thought it through. Could you give the audience a few tips or maybe a reminder or two?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to put, think of common sense, but unfortunately, people don't, sometimes just think of what could happen. But yeah, make sure you don't have a grill, up against the house or near any kind of structure. You want to have it probably close to, 10 feet away or so at the minimum. Make sure, it's up to par. Your grill, if you're using a propane grill, you don't have any leaks. The hoses are all good. You're not using any old equipment that's damaged because you don't want to have any leaks or any issues because then that could cause a problem. If you're burning, do not use gasoline to start your fire or stoke your fire. That's just a bad idea. Don't use any kind of chemicals. Clean wood. That's it. You can't really, in the city limits, are not really supposed to be burning too much, or especially brush or any of that stuff. So, no chemicals, no gasoline. Make sure your grills are, all up to date. There's no damage to the stuff. And just, enjoy yourself. Be careful, common sense.
Billy, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the work you do.
Yeah, thank you, members, for us. Really, really, really appreciate it, Billy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Absolutely, they appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Peace.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. This is South Coast Tonight. Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. So,
I was just actually talking to my old coach at Stang, Coach Puente, Anthony Puente, of the fire department. We have him in regularly to do a fire safety segment. And I said, hey, this feels like a good time. We're gonna set something up soon, probably next week, for a fire safety segment.
It really is, because people are gonna be real quickly. They'll be doing the burning outside and in the yard, lighting up the barbecue, and I say that because I always remember summer comes. First lighting up of the grill or spring, whatever it is, and you've got the grill positioned how you had it for the winter, or you're pulling it out and you're just not even thinking, you're not used to it. That first light, it's leaning against the house, you know what I mean? It really doesn't take much.
Yeah.
So just please think about it.
Yeah, I mean, that big Thanksgiving fire was a turkey fry. So
someone was frying a turkey out on their property.
Yeah.
The thing about firefighters and police, but it's training and colleagues and equipment. Most of these men and women will do just about anything.
Yeah.
The line of duty calls, if they, and particularly if they can trust their equipment, their training, their colleagues. To me, look, I understand at the end of the day, you have to balance the budget, and taxpayers, have to. There's a limit to what you can pay, but really, we can never pay these people enough, and they're not motivated by money. They are motivated, though, by making sure if they die in the line of duty, their family is taken care of.
Yeah.
So I particularly, and the city did the right thing for Officer Cassidy. The state did not, and I do think that fight is going to be coming up again.
Yeah, I mean, we have to give former Councilor Hugh Dunn credit for really getting that home rule petition past the finish line. he had to play some pretty hardball politics actually to get that home rule petition through. And so, the template's there. So we just got to pass it again and see if we can get it through this time. Right? Got a whole new session.
I've done some more research into it, and I understand why it didn't make it last time. We've got 4 years with a new administration, but I do think, I'm glad you brought up Hugh Dunn, because I do think that we haven't done a retrospective on him that it has deserved to be done.
I agree.
His incredible accomplishments,
I agree.
the talents that are no longer there.
Yeah.
You can see in this last piece of business at the city council, Hugh Dunn would have been a valuable contribution to that conversation.
I agree. Just the policy experience and knowledge and all of that. And
just to slow it down.
And I think exactly his advocacy, I think would have been good. To the point though, last night there was a meeting in the city council with Michael Rock, who's the director of content. Tim Weisberg was there, but Michael spent most of the time, I think, speaking on behalf of the station. I think all the time speaking on behalf of the station. And he left, I think, fairly encouraged about the council's, thoughts and feelings about WBSM.
Your podcast with Michael, he came right from the meeting, was here, is absolutely worth listening to, folks, if you missed it last night.
It's kind of funny. I used to listen to Michael Rock all the time, when I was, he's an institution, right?
Really is.
Fun 107. Used to listen to Fun 107 all the time growing up and used to hear Michael Rock. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm interviewing Michael Rock right now. It's crazy.
So I'm glad you said that, because yesterday I was at dialysis, as I mentioned, and there is a Taylor Swift concert coming up. And one of the nurses there is taking her daughter, and they're really excited about it. They wanted to go last time, but it got canceled because of COVID. And she used a ticket service. It's very hard to get these tickets. And then they weren't going to send them until a few days before the concert, is what they said. And it sounded sketchy to her.
Yeah.
And she was telling me, and I said, geez, that does sound sketchy to me as well. I said, I know who will know. So I called Michael Rock, from dialysis. And it was so funny because it was there's mostly female nurse. It's all but one of the female nurses. And they were standing there. So I said, look, I'll know who to call. So I called Michael Rock, and they're like, he's talking to Michael Rock. They're like, I heard his voice. That's Michael Rock. He's talking to Michael Rock. And I go, you guys never appreciated me like you do right now. I can talk to Michael Rock. Right? That's right. He's my buddy. Funny. And then I said, he volunteered to be one of my pallbearers. He did. I called him from the hospital. And I said, Michael, I go, Natalie's going to be too upset. So she might not understand. I said, so I'm making a couple of calls. I want you to be my pallbearer. And he goes, I did the same thing with Aaron Burke and with Chris Campbell. And I remember Aaron Burke, the lawyer that he is, goes, are we there yet already? I go, what? He goes, do we need to have this conversation? I go, well, when we need to, I won't be here.
I'm offended you didn't call me, but you thought I was dead.
No, I did think you were dead. I did think you were dead. I did think I had killed you. I was really upset about that. Even though I had signed up to kill communists when I was 18, when I finally had killed one, I felt terrible about it.
Yeah. The tables have turned. So let's take a break. Actually, before I did, I just wanted to make the point that we have from that meeting. Actually, we have a new segment that's gonna start. Yeah, and so we're going to be talking to Ryan Pereira regularly. He's the city council chair of on the committee on ordinances, which used to be Hugh Dunn's committee. It's very important because it's ordinances. Ordinances are local municipal laws. Right. So basically everything has to go through there. So whenever he has an ordinance meeting, he's going to call into South Coast Tonight after to react to it. So he called me this morning. He wanted to set that segment up. I'm really excited about it. So I think the next meeting's April 11th, so we're going to hear from him then. I'm really excited about that segment.
I am too, and I appreciate that Council Pereira reached out to you.
I do too.
After Michael Rock met with the council yesterday, and I heard his on the segment with you, I reached out to Councilor Gomes. He was going to join us tonight, Marcus, as you know, but he had a schedule conflict, so he wasn't able to. But he's going to join us Friday.
Yeah,
Councilor Gomes will join us Friday, and again, we encourage all the councilors. I think we have a good relationship with almost all of them. And so any of them that want to come on, have something to say or pitch to the voters, whatever they're doing, we're always welcome to that. That's why we started the show.
Exactly. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
1420 WBSM, New Bedford's News Talk Station. Take South Coast Tonight with you wherever you go. Stream Chris and Marcus on the WBSM app or get their podcast on the app at WBSM.com. Now, back to South Coast Tonight.
Welcome back to South Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus.
And I'm Chris.
508-996-0500 so you can join us. We'll also take your messages on the WBSM app chat.
So, Marcus, tell me something. You have a piece up at WBSM about the Fairhaven firefighters.
Yeah.
Who saved my life.
Yes.
So they're near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, so, and I was saying yesterday, Kevin Gonzalez, union president, I've known him since I was 5 years old. We went to Wood School together right down the street, the old Wood School. And so, we talked to Kevin a couple weeks ago on the air, and I have an article on that as well. They need the sort of cliff notes of it is they hired new staff in January, right? That new staff is going to bring their per shift staffing up a little bit, but they need more firefighters to bring their staff up to a more reasonable level, one that's more manageable. The way they're proposing to do that is a Proposition 2.5 override, which, as you've explained, is Proposition 2.5 is a cap on the total levy limit on municipal taxes. And so Kevin said it's going to cost, they did a feasibility study, $2 per week per household to add those additional firefighters. And so, but now they're hearing apparently from the town, and in fairness, the town can't comment on it.
Well, here's the thing, Marcus. First of all, I'm a huge fan of Proposition 2.5. When we have legislative candidates in here, I always ask them about it, all right? Because one of the great things about Prop 2.5 is there can be overrides.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's the beautiful part of the law.
Yeah.
Is that when you have a legitimate reason to do it, as was envisioned, that's why it's in the law, part of the law as the voters passed back in 1980, Marcus.
Yeah.
That's how long the law's been around.
Yeah.
Is the capacity to override the law.
Right.
However, you have to have a long runway, all the information out there, not confusion.
Yes.
So I would like to hope that the Board of Selectmen, town administrator, everybody can get a unified message, answer all the questions, not already start what appears to be confusion, a shell game.
Yeah, because
mistrust.
Because what the union said, the town has told them, is that they need the Prop 2.5 override just to keep 2 of the 4 firefighters they already hired.
Right.
So this is something that they hadn't heard. They didn't hear in January, and they hadn't heard till now, and it's almost April. And so they came out with this press release yesterday. I did ask all the select board members. They more or less said, they're unable to comment because it's, contract negotiations, stuff like that.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't see how that breaks the sanctity of contract negotiations to say, I believe we'll need a Prop 2.5 override.
Well, I think they are saying they need a Prop 2.5 override, but I think there's probably some specifics maybe they can't get into, or I guess they either that or they don't want to. But I will say to that end, I know last night in the Fairhaven Select Board meeting, Selectman Corey did say he's not going to support anything that cuts firefighters, which I think is good. He's planning on coming on and joining us sometime soon to talk about the Prop 2.5 override, so we're going to be looking forward to that. But either way, there is some communication issues between the town and the union, and frankly, it's not enough to maintain the firefighters that you just hired. You got to hire more.
Not only do you have to hire more, you're not going to get continuous prop overrides.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, the selectmen need to do, is have a unified message for what other needs they may have.
Yeah. So
Do they need other departments need a little more money?
The school.
Before you've got to get that all out.
Yeah.
You can't start going, well, but we need this. In other words, it has to be a unified message, an honest message that answers everyone's questions, not things that suddenly at the last minute, right?
Yeah.
People do not like that. They mistrust that.
Yeah, and you're asking people, hey, can we have an unfettered ability to raise your taxes in perpetuity forever, right? So it's something that needs to be really clear and carefully, a really clear and carefully constructed message. So, one of the things is the school. I talked to Brian Monroe, the school committee vice chair, was on yesterday and said that they're going to take a $200,000 haircut if they don't pass Prop 2.5. So, so the town's in some not dire, but difficult financial constraints right now.
Marcus, if you look around the town of Fairhaven, you have seen very little industrial growth. Mm-hmm. There may even be an argument, depending on where you look on the calendar in the history book.
It's been a retraction.
Exactly,
yeah.
right? And that is the reality of it, okay? That the loss of AT&T, tremendous loss. And the fact that you need business like that, but I haven't seen anything.
Right. Yeah. In fact, there seems to be growing numbers of vacancies, right? And so there is definitely need to drive some revenue. Again, I think more housing development would be good for that. So to bring it back to that.
But the issue with housing is that housing tends to bring children, which tend to bring school costs.
Yeah.
So housing is good. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes the math isn't perfect.
Yeah.
On that, and you're not going to restrict housing based solely on the taxes issue, because it does bring more people, which brings more economic growth. So there's a lot to the mix. One of the things that ought to be considered is we've just passed legalized gambling. We just passed legalized marijuana is now in effect, okay? When I say in effect, I mean they're starting to get the real financial impact of it at the tax level, right? That's all coming into the state coffers.
Yeah.
That ought to be matriculating down to local aid.
Actually, the opening weekend for Massachusetts was the fifth busiest state in the country. So it was pretty good. A pretty good turnout for legalized gambling so far. 508-996-0500. We're going to take a break before we go to the phone. Good evening. We can fit one more call in. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. I wasn't able to be available to listen to your conversation with the union president there from the Bedford Fire Department.
Oh, hey, Phil.
I had a family member living in that building last night.
Oh man.
And his girlfriend. Thank God they were okay. They weren't even in the building. But for the first half hour, they weren't responding to their phone. Someone spoke to them early, and they thought they were making reference to a house fire my brother was in years ago. But we were able to work it out. But I got to say, I am so proud of not just our first responders, the mutual aid. We had ambulances from Wareham to Westport.
Yep.
Half hour after the mayor left last night, because I was coming and going calibrate around the corner. I saw the District 1 chief from Dartmouth still on scene. I saw the fire chief from Fairhaven still on scene.
Wow.
It was amazing. It's sad and tragic. It could have been so much worse.
Absolutely, Phil.
The
Absolutely.
bravery and heroism, even people in the building saving each other. I got the stories because I got connected with the Red Cross. I was channeling people there where to go. And I was back there today when they found the second individual. And I leaned on one of the meters, brought tears to my eyes.
Of course.
And it was sadness, but it was joy too to know how everybody came together. And I love what our community is doing. There's a lot of things already being planned. And Chris, you've been through a lot these last few years, and you still give back to the community, and you still have compassion.
Sure.
And
I have more than I ever had
we
now.
deal with it on a daily basis around us. Let's just hope our community doesn't forget about this and we can learn. And I'm glad I got to call in tonight, guys.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
thanks, Phil. Thanks for everything.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Look, I'm a better person because of what I went through. I mean, really, it didn't make me better. It just really made me appreciate people who were so kind to me.
Adversity builds character.
That is correct.
Yeah,
that is correct. But yeah, it was a real outflow. And look, guys, let's, as Phil said, I hope we don't forget about it. There's lessons to be learned.
Yes, absolutely. Right? So let's support our firefighters and first responders. Let's get them the things that they need to do their job, and let's make sure they're taken care of, or their families are taken care of.
Can you imagine if you were in that fire and would you be thinking about your tax bill?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, obviously you always got to think about your taxes, and I know that's not maybe even a realistic thing to say. It certainly isn't, but I'm just, but really, it doesn't matter in that fire situation, right? Or